Hello, welcome to this KaboomJS tutorial. My name is Luke, and this game is going to be something a little bit different. It's going to be a game that both sighted and visually impaired players will be able to play. So it's a very simple game. You've got this car at the bottom that you can steer left and right, and then you have obstacles coming at it, and you can play obviously by looking at what's happening, but if you're visually impaired or blind, you can also listen to the spoken instructions and know whether you should be moving left or right. And then if you do crash, then the game also tells you what your score is. Go right, go left, go right, go right.
Your score is 33.
So in theory, you should be able to play it without looking. And if you want to try that, you can go to the link in the description, play the game, play it whilst looking, assuming that you're not visually impaired. And then if you want to try, you can close your eyes or turn the monitor off or turn the brightness down and try playing just by listening. So this game was inspired by a video I saw on a YouTube channel called Paper Will, and I just want to show you a clip from that so you'll understand what gave me the idea for making this game.
In 1996, a young Japanese game developer named Ino Kenji happened to visit a school for the blind during a community event. While walking around, he found some students who were playing a video game, a game he had worked on. Ino's game had been designed for sighted people, but blind students were using their ears to play it. 10 years later, in an interview, he said that, quote, while the students couldn't have the full experience, and they were forcing themselves to be able to play it, they were making an effort to play it as well as sighted players. I thought at the time that if a blind player and I both turned off the screen and played together, we could discuss the game as equals.
So as I was thinking about making a new Kaboom tutorial, after seeing that video, that was the inspiration for making a game that would be accessible to the visually impaired. So I'm going to be using Replit again. Instructions for that are in the first tutorial. And I'm going to go to Create. And again, type Kaboom. And instead of using the random name that they give you, I'm going to call this a car driver. And then go to Create. So just click Run to make sure that the demo game is working. Okay, so there's our demo game, and I'm going to immediately get rid of these parts. We're still going to want to add a sprite, but our own one, so I'm going to leave that there. And we need to import Kaboom, so that's all the pre-made code for Kaboom, and then say that yes, I want to use this import. And first thing I'm going to do is the bit that I like least, so is drawing the sprites. So I'm coming over to here, I'm going to add, and then I'm going to do a car and keep this size like this and create. And yeah, this is the bit that I'm just no good at. So I'm gonna have this kind of reddy color and start with a line. So I'm gonna do the front part of the car. So maybe a bit like that. So obviously it doesn't have to be a car. It could be kind of anything that you really want to be moving left and right. It could be a spaceship. So then I'm going to fill this in, and so I don't want to use white. I want to choose, so if I press this plus, then I can choose a bit more of a kind of a greyish sort of colour, something like that. And I want to use that for the windscreen part. something like that, and fill that in. Then back to this red, I'm going to do the roof, and for the roof I'm just going to use this rectangle. Okay, is it looking like a car? Not really. And then the back window, back to, we'll have this, this is the colour I created before, the grey kind of colour. And then to a line, and we're kind of running out of room here, so I can't make that too big. Coming in like that, coming across, gonna fill that in, and then the back part of the car, again I'm going to use the line and this red, so something like that. Maybe that's, so I'm going to erase that part and see if that matches a bit more, kind of, and fill that in. So here's the car. Let's see if we can put some wheels on. So I'm just going to use this tool, fill kind of something like that. Black tires, and maybe kind of there. Okay, not looking great, but I'm just terrible at drawing, so that will have to do for me. Yours will probably be a lot better. Then if we go over to main, for now, I'm just gonna, I don't actually want to load this sprite, so I'm getting rid of that, and I'm actually going to delete it from here. And then to load in our car, kind of looks like a barrel in this thumbnail. I'm going to insert that, and we need to change the name to car here to match that. And so I'm going to stop, I'm going to run this, and we should see our car picture there. So I guess that'll have to do. Hopefully yours is going to be a lot better than mine. So the next thing I'm going to do is change the size of our playing area. So if you remember from the demo at the beginning, we're not actually going to use this full width of the screen. It's a lot easier just to use a smaller screen to move left and right. And the way I do that is actually adding some values inside this Kaboom part here. So this is where it's setting up, saying yes, we're making a Kaboom game. And if you don't do anything, then everything is just the standard default. But in here, so we put these kind of curly brackets, and I can tell it the width of my playing area. So I'm going to have that as 200 pixels, and the height I'm going to have as 320. I mean, these can be different. You can experiment with different values. It's up to you. And one more thing, instead of having this empty squared kind of chessboard background, I'm going to fill the background in with a colour. And the way this works, we're putting some numbers in here, and these numbers are for the amount of red, green and blue. So it's like you're mixing red, green and blue. And by putting different numbers you can change the colour. So how are you supposed to know what colour that is? Well, I'm going to show you that. So I'm just going to reload, and you can see I've got this kind of grey colour. I just wanted something plain. So how can you know what numbers to use? Well, there are lots of websites that will do this for you. For example, this W3 Schools HTML color picker. And if I choose different colors here. There's so much information, but the bit that you're looking for is this RGB, red, green, blue. So if I wanted a green background, then I can actually come and copy these. So I'm Control C to copy, and over here, if I paste those values in and Control S to reload, we now get this green, which is this green that we selected. Another way, if you don't want to go to a different website, actually if you go to the sprites, and if we just make a new one, so this is not going to be a real sprite in the game, and create, when you click this plus button here, if I choose different colors, you actually get the RGB red, green and blue values down here. So when it's fully red, then we have 255 there, and a bit hard to actually get it there. If I actually type it in, whoops, then you can see fully green is only 255 there, and fully blue, I type that in there and put a 0, so fully blue is 255 there, and by mixing these values, you change the color and you get different numbers here to use in your code. So that's how you can find your RGB values. You can use it from making kind of a fake sprite that you just use for choosing colors, or you can find on a website, so many websites that will do this for you, and you can select from there. But I'm just going to go back and change this back to 215, which was this very boring grey kind of road color. Okay, so we've got our car sprite, and we've set up our playing size, and we've even changed the background color. And one more thing before we finish this video, something we did in the first tutorial set. We're just going to get this car moving left and right. So to do that, if you remember, I need to know that this is a car, and to do that I need to put it into a variable, so a constant variable called car. So now it knows that this is the car, and now I know that, I can control the car with on key down, and unlike the last game, we're only actually moving left and right. So I'm going to move left, and if you followed the last tutorial, hopefully you'll remember doing this kind of code. This kind of code. So we're saying we're using the left key, and this is the code we want to do when you press the left key. So this is a function, so a block of code that we want to run, to execute. So on key down, the left key, we're going to run this function. And what we want to do is we want the car dot move, and if we're going left, then that's -200 on the X and 0 on the Y. We're not going to move on the Y, the up and down axis at all, just the X axis, left and right. So if I'm going too fast, I suggest you go and watch the first tutorial set, where I explain a bit more about this X and Y values here for moving your player. So I'm going to Control S, and now we can move to the left. I can't move to the right. So, nice and lazy. Let's copy this, paste, change this to right, and this to 200 instead of negative 200. So negative minus 200 is moving you that way, and the positive value is moving you that way. Control S, and I can move left and right. And one more thing to do is I want the car to be at the bottom of the screen, because we're not actually having any controls for moving up and down. So I need to do that at the start of the game. So I find that in my car and my position. This is my X position at the start, and my Y position, instead of being 40, which is near the top, 0 is up here. So this is obviously 40. I want to be near the bottom, and we know that our height is 320. But if I put 320, let's see what happens if I actually put 320 and reload. Looks like our car has disappeared. So I'm just going to drag this down here. Make sure that none of this is covered up. So 320 has actually put the car off the screen. So what if it's 300? We can see it just poking onto the screen. So what if it's 250? And now it's at the bottom of the screen, and I can move left and right. So already we have our car moving left and right. We've got our screen size set up and our background color. So it looks like we've made a good start to the game. And we're going to follow on in the next video and look at how to get an obstacle moving down the screen that we have to avoid.